Hi, and welcome to a new video for Aperture Speaks. And today I'm going to be talking about lith toning in Photoshop. Now, lith printing really was something you did in the darkroom. And all you had to do was to majorly overexpose the printing paper. And then you develop in a very weak lith developer. It was a special developer for lith printing. And the sort of tones you sort of get from this was very, very detailed shadows with very delicate highlights. And it was a bit of a fickle thing, but not a lot of people got it quite right. In the darkroom, there was a lot of fogging or those uneven toning. So in Photoshop, it can be a little bit easier. But I'm just going for like the idea of what more for the colors with a black and white conversion. That's what I'm sort of going for here. So I started in Adobe Camera Raw with my image here, and I'm gonna kill the pronunciation of it, but it's like what was this mountain called? Giavont, that's what it's called. It's a sleeping knight, and it said that one day he would awake and save the world from like the end of the world. That's the legend. So what I was doing in Adobe Camera Raw was adjusting the image just to make it the exposure right and just correcting a few things. So I just darkened the sky. I boosted up the clarity, basically the mid-tone contrast on the mountain itself and the exposure, and played around with the shadows and the highlight settings there as well. I also cropped the image a little bit as well here, just to have a more of a 5:4 sort of format, and it sort of the composition worked better that way, having it in like that. And I think it sort of worked quite nicely. The image was shot at sunset. It was the sun was setting to the right of this mountain, so the right and in front. That's sort of where the light was coming from, and the clouds really picked up this sort of very saturated, like orange glow from the setting sun, and it looked really nice. And I stopped walking on the road, got on my camera, and quickly took a few different compositions of it because it was really quite striking. This is, you may be able to see in a minute as I pan around that there's actually a cross on the top, and it's something I really was wanting to also make sure that you could see this cross on the top. In thunderstorms, you cannot climb this mountain because, well, you can be at the top because there's a big cross and it's like a big conductor, and light that comes down, it'll strike it. So this is just me finishing off, just checking things through, making a few final adjustments in Camera Raw. Mostly, I think it was a pretty good exposure. I think really I just wanted more detail from this guy. So in Photoshop, to actually get my black and white conversion, I split the channels, and I chose the red channel because it had the sort of the best sort of toning. I did look at the blue channel there just to see what did the mountain look like. Could I maybe like take the mountain across and just mask it in? But I decided just to go with the red channel. I left the other two channels open though, just because I wanted to leave it like that. I then duplicated the background layer, and then I created a hue and saturation adjustment layer. And with the hue and saturation adjustment layer, I made the adjustments, creating a very sort of reddish tone. And I created the second one, and I changed the adjustments to be more of like a beigeish tone. These are sort of two tones I was sort of looking to try and get. It's sort of a little bit of, I would say like artistic choice of how much color there is in those tones in particular. I've ended the hue and saturation. No, I didn't. I did a blank layer and I filled it with a 50% gray. Added noise and I blurred the noise. And then I set the new noise layer to overlay. Soft light, and I set the second hue and saturation layer, which was the beigey color, to overlay. And that sort of gives me this very sort of strong contrast image there. What I did then was I then went and selected all the shadows, and then I added that as a layer mask for that noise layer I created. So the noise was predominantly in the shadows. I then created a levels layer, this time adjusting the mid-tone slider just to brighten the image a little bit. And then I did the same thing where I went to color range, select color range, select the highlights, and add that as a layer mask. So that only affected the highlights of the image. And then what I started doing was just my toning of the image, adding some shadows and highlights. Looking at it now, it really does need the mountain. I really want to be a bit brighter because there's lots of these sort of like bright details in there, which would be really nice to sort of see and to come out. And this is the cross that I was talking about, and I just wanted to like darken it a little bit, and I ended up doing this separate layer as well, and just making it a little bit darker. I actually increased the size of it a little bit, just so it sort of stuck out, just so you can just see this. And it's just an added little feature which I really liked with this particular shot. So why did I decide to use a lift process? Well, one of the reasons for designing it was it had this nice contrasted quality to the original image. The sky, of why I'm darkening it quite heavy now, had all these different this sort of rolling clouds building up, and this blue at the top, and then you had this mountain in the foreground, which was very detailed. And I wanted to sort of mix these two sort of things together, and I thought if I did the lift toning, it would look quite nice, because I could have all these sort of little details in the foreground on this mountain sort of really picking up and being contrasted and sharp, and then have this softer but still quite dramatic background, but more softer in the background. And then using the toning would just give it this added sort of depth. That's really what I was working with. There is quite a bit of noise actually in the mountain itself, which I was quite surprised about, and it's something which I did sort of keep in, because it would be a little bit of noise if I was to do this in a darkroom. So I just sort of kept it in a little bit as well. I've been quite selective as well as I've been toning the mountain, because I wanted to sort of try and keep the feel of this like a man. So I didn't brighten this sort of darkish area on the right. It's like a dark spot, because it made it feel like it was actually like more like an eye. As you came up, then you have the nose, and then the mouth, you have the top lip, but you have the cross poking up. And that was also intentional, but I wanted to sort of keep this sort of sculpt with the light to just give it a bit more emphasis to the sort of legend of this knight who's lying down and one day is going to awake. I did do quite a lot of darkening in the sky there, as you can see. This was mainly because I wanted this darkness to come down, and it's to really bring your eye to this sort of, really to the ridgeline of the mountains and the clouds. So you have this very sort of nice contrasted element here, and there's the softness of this like candy floss cloud and the hardness of the rock. And so having that dark at the top just sort of brings your eye down to that lightness, and then you get the mountain. And so really I did that more as a sort of artistic-y compositional thing. I also do like, though, in black and white photography, and especially some landscape photography of mountains, is to have a black sky, if you can get it. The one way of doing it is put a red filter on your camera and then shoot black and white, and the blues will turn darker, sometimes turn black. But of course in digital photography you can convert to black and white and then use a red filter, or just darken the blue channel down just to give the same sort of effect. It does look really quite nice, and it's quite good if you have also a bit of cloud as well, because you get the contrast then in the sky, and it's just an added piece to the image. And I think really when it comes to black and white, and even black and white with your toning, really it's the contrast which really makes the image. Soft contrast works as well. So I made it quite big here just to sort of look at it a bit closer. I didn't really like this silhouette in the foreground. This was a hill which was closer to me, distance-wise, than the mountain, and you can see the triangle of this house. So I was really not too happy about this too much. I also felt the saturation of the colors was far too strong, and I wanted just to soften that saturation a little bit. because it was creating more color contrast than tonal contrast, and I wanted it more to be about the more toning of the image than anything else. So I'm now going to double check the cropping. I went for a few different sort of cropping sizes. I don't want to crop the mountain itself, so I was a little bit apprehensive about, you know, how much do I crop off this, how much do I crop off that. That's why I sort of looked at different sizes. I did crop a little bit. You still have a little bit of silhouette at the bottom, but it's not as big, so it's not as distracting, in my opinion. I then did some changes to like the noise level. So this is the final image right here. I really quite like it. I think it really does stand out, and it'll be nice to actually print out and stick on the wall. The mountains, definitely you've got the sharpness and you've got the contrast. I did 2 sharpening layers as well, so it actually worked quite nicely. And there we are. There's not much else to really say. So I hope you enjoyed the video and seeing how I create this particular toning. If you want to catch me on my blog, you can do. It's aperture64.wordpress.com. You can also catch me on Twitter, which is @aperture64, and also Facebook, which is facebook.com/aperture64. This time typing it out instead of just using the 64 numbers. So until next week, keep shooting. Bye bye.